Hello, Cosmic Witches, and welcome back to the Divine Gossip Girls podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in to this week's episode, and welcome to the new year. Happy New Year. I hope that you guys had an incredible New Year's and holiday season. We are extending a very big, loving hug to all of you, and just want to say thank you so much for supporting this podcast as we have just taken off this past month. We are so excited to see what this New Year's has in store for the Divine Gossip Girls community, and just to continue to put out content that helps you guys feel safe and supported within your spirituality. So for our first episode in January, we have a very exciting topic and announcement. This week's episode will be all around the chakras. So we are going to be talking about our experiences with healing the chakras and working with the chakras. If you are new to chakras, if this is something that you have recently heard about or are not really sure what chakras are basically the energy centers of the body. And if you think about how our organs, our muscles, our tissues all have to work, they do that with energy. So I tell people that the chakras in different parts of the body work with certain nerve bundles and different organs and stuff, and they are responsible for making sure that our mind, body, and soul are working in beautiful harmony. And if there's ever a disturbance or a block within a chakra, that's when we sometimes can feel those physical, mental, and spiritual symptoms as a result, because the energy within our body is kind of out of whack or out of harmony. So we're discussing in this episode the first three lower chakras: the root chakra, the sacral chakra, and the solar plexus, and our experience with working with them and what we've done to kind of help heal them. And this is just going to be a good old intro to the main three chakras, and then we'll have a second episode out next week discussing the upper four. So that's a bit about what's going to be in this episode, and we've decided to create a couple episodes all around the chakras as we are announcing the launch of our 3-week chakra elevating experience called Aura Elevation. Now, this is our third time running this very cosmic challenge / experience, and what is included within Aura Elevation, this 3-week chakra healing experience, is 14 different rituals and practices over the 21 days to help uplift your energy and your vibration. And we start at the root with a couple of days all around the root, and then we move up to the sacral chakra with a couple of days all around the sacral. And the theme of this round of Aura Elevation is ground your magic. So what we do is we have one day working with the chakra all around grounding, and then the second day with that chakra where we tap into the magic, so the rise, the fun and expansive part. And then we have a day off for you to just integrate before we move into the next chakra. So 14 mini little rituals, and that could include an EFT, a meditation, a worksheet, an activity for you to do, some fun sort of cosmic activity. We also have a witchy cookbook, which is super exciting, that Maggie's going to be including some of her favorite herbs and share with you recipes for each chakra to help balance your chakra and bring in that beautiful harmonious energy into that energy center. We also will have 3 live workshops, which are going to be cosmic. One will be a Reiki circle that I'll be leading in harmonizing your masculine and feminine energy. Sophie's going to be leading a powerful high vibrational safety workshop. And then Maggie's going to be taking you guys through a past life regression. Now, this entire 3-week experience is powerful. It is cosmic. It is uplifting. And we always have such an incredible Facebook community supporting you, leading you through. And it's just overall such a high vibe space. I am so excited to see what comes out of round 3, because I feel like we have 333. It is third round, 3 cosmic practitioners, and 3 live workshops. So it's going to be extremely powerful, and I would love to have you guys in it. We would love to have you guys inside of it. And the doors to enroll close on January 22nd. And this 3-week experience is only $49, you guys. It is over a $750 value, but we keep this price at $49 because we want as many beautiful souls that need that support and that little pep in their step to feel supported and have a space that no matter where you're at in your journey, we can meet you at and we can support you. So doors close on January 22nd. We will leave the link below to sign up to join us. Get your spot while we have more available, and we cannot wait to see you guys inside Aura Elevation Ground Your Magic Round 3. So without further ado, let's go ahead and dive on into this week's episode.
Hey Cosmic Witches! Divine Gossip Girls here, your one and only source into the spiritual happenings of the cosmos.
Ever wonder what this month's energy will have in store for you? What the planets and stars are even up to? Or if the universe can just help you catch a break already?
Well, lucky you, because we have all the spiritual secrets to tell. Get ready to sip on your weekly dose of divine tea.
So let's start with the root chakra. I think the root chakra is one that's a strange one personally for me because I really struggle to be grounded. I have a lot of earth in my personal energy and birth chart. I think you can even see it on my Instagram page. Like earth is a big thing for me, but I'm living a very rootless life and I've always kind of been a free spirit. So I think root for me particularly has been a lot more finding that energy within myself. I know some people, it might be finding safety in finances. It might be finding safety in their home, in their families, in a partnership. But for me, it's always been like, okay, I'm a free spirit. How can I ground and root into myself?
Yeah.
So that's been a huge lesson for me.
And that's been the exact same for me as well, hasn't it? Like this past year has genuinely been like a journey of like cultivating that safety within myself because, well, as an entrepreneur as well, like obviously putting yourself out there, there's not that like security, like that external security on a path that's like already laid out for you, like it's completely unknown. So like the safety really lies within you. So like that's what I've been doing as well. Is like this past year is all about being cultivating that safety within myself so that I am grounded in my own path, in my own self, in my soul, and like what feels like deeply aligned with me,
Honestly, I feel like for me, the root, I definitely have found that this year it's something that I started to work with a bit more. The root is something that I think a lot of people actually have issues with because your energy, that's the first energy center that is developed and it happens even when you're in the womb. So the root starts to form when you're in the womb space. So if you were having, your parents, maybe there was a lot of struggles before you were even born, but when you were in the womb space, that impacts your own energy. And for me, I noticed, especially in struggling with an eating disorder and a lot of physical health issues, that is all directly tied to the root. And if you are someone that struggles with physical health or like your health is just always something that's kind of like wobbly, it's usually a sign that the root chakra needs support. So I feel like for me, a lot of this year has been the energy of root to rise. And I feel like I talked about this in a different podcast and something that us three have all kind of chatted about, this energy of you have to be rooted and find safety within yourself so that you can rise. Like if you don't feel safe, how are you supposed to be able to rise? And I feel like that's something that I have really leaned into. And the more that I work with my root chakra, the more that I want to lean into that.
And I think that really comes through with what we want to do with Aura Elevation is this ground into your magic, because I think that the root chakra is so important, even like that energy within every single chakra. Like you cannot be, it's the basis of our energy. You can't be strong in your heart if you feel ungrounded, if you feel scarce, if you feel unsafe. You can't then feel safe to be in your emotions if you physically feel unsafe within your environment, with your roots, with your energy. So I think it's so important that every time we work with each chakra, we also make sure, okay, is this energy coming from the root chakra, or is it trying to maybe stem from
The
somewhere
ego.
else, from the ego, from some other part of our energy? Or is this coming from a rooted, grounded place? And so many people on their spiritual journeys, I think this can be powerful, whether you're at the beginning or you're years and years and years and years into it. Because I think sometimes when we get super into the woo-woo and super spiritual and we've been doing it for a while, we can be like, I'm too good for the root chakra. It can almost be like you're hanging up so much into your intuition, and you're elevating and rising so much that you're not allowing yourself. I talk about this all the time, but not allowing yourself to be human.
I was just about to say that.
Yeah.
Like, you're forgetting that you are also human as well. Like, you're not just like a spiritual being. You're like spiritual being, like experience, like having a human experience. So it's like normal to like also prioritize regulating yourself, you know, like regulating your nervous system, like regulating your root chakra as well. Because if you are not regulated, you're going to be making decisions thinking it's from an intuitive place, but actually it's like from this like dysregulated place,
this
right?
ego, this scarcity, this fear.
And I've been having a lot of conversations with clients, and just like in general as well, like with myself as well. Like a lot of people are attracting like these amazing things, amazing opportunities, because they've been taking those leaps of faith and trusting their intuition and leaning into that. But then they get to that place and they're like, shit, like I don't feel safe in this either, because they've not cultivated that safety within. So then they end up like feeling unsafe in that abundance, because they think that they're going to sabotage themselves, or they think that they can't hold it. So they start to feel unsafe in the root chakra. So no matter like where you are in your spiritual journey, and like leaning into that intuitive guidance, like it's so important to always come back to that place of safety from within. Like I've been leaning into this like high vibrational safety, you know, and this is actually one of the workshops that I'm bringing to Aura Elevation. So I've been letting go of this need to hold on to low vibrational safety within myself and within opportunities and with relationships, and like calling forward this high vibrational safety within myself and within my opportunities, within my relationships, within like the next season like of my evolution as well. So I think like it's so important as a spiritual being to also like prioritize the
rooting
regulation of your human as well.
I think it's the definition, like high vibrational safety is the definition of grounding your magic.
Yeah. 100%. This is why we're so aligned, guys, because this is what I've been leaning into. And then Carly brings this root to rise, and then it all just expands into, right, okay, this is what it is.
Well, and I feel like so many people, when they think about manifestation or doing this work to raise their vibration, they try to work from the top down, but they're like trees do not grow from the top down. You first have to focus in on building some deep grounded roots so that you are able to grow and rise. And I think that's where people really get it backwards, where it's like, okay, I need to first think about connecting to my intuition and seeing these big visions. But like, how are we supposed to feel safe to expand and see these big visions when you're so trapped and wrapped up in the ego and these thoughts that are really making you feel scarce and limited? So when we think about the root, and something we'll be doing in Aura Elevation is working with finding safety within ourselves, within the body, and within our own energy, which is something that a lot of us aren't used to. A lot of us feel uncomfortable within ourselves, within the body, and it feels really scary to be with ourselves. So the work that we do has a lot to do with just finding that safety within. And I think it's so important to recognize that it's possible for you to cultivate that, no matter what narratives you have built around lacking safety or lacking security. Recognizing that in the present moment, you have the power to shift that and change that and build deeper roots is where you find your power moving forward.
I think it's so interesting what you're saying. Like, it's scary to be with ourselves, because I think there's this like unregulated spirituality that's out there in the world, and this spirituality that the media has run with, that other people who don't like truly embody the work sometimes have run with. And spirituality becomes like escapism, to like become, oh, in this oneness. Like I've talked to so many people who they believe they are so spiritually ascended that like they fear nothing. Or I remember I had this one woman say to me, because I was happy and I was expressing my joy, being like, wow, this is so cool. I can't believe this manifestation came in so fast. And she said to me, one day you'll get to a point where your spirituality and your trust in the universe doesn't shock you anymore. And I thought to myself, what a sad way of being. I always want to be like, oh my, yeah, so excited. Like, oh my God, the universe showed up and made this thing so wildly beyond my dreams happen for me, because there should still be that rooted part, that human part. And I think when we are healthy within the chakra, the root chakra, we can ground into ourselves as a human and what our needs are and who we are and what our individual journey is, while also having that duality of the spiritual experience, of this oneness with everyone around us and energy and the universe. And it gets to be this really beautiful balance, because we can be a human having a spiritual experience rather than escaping into a spiritual experience. And I think once you can align that energy, if you guys don't mind me segueing a little bit here, once you align that energy of rooting into yourself and being like, wow, I'm a human having a spiritual experience, that's when you can healthily move into the sacral chakra, because duality lives. Once you really are rooted into yourself, but also feeling that spiritual energy and embracing that spiritual energy, that's when you can healthily move into that sacral work, because duality lives there. Be like that energy lives in there healthily. The masculine and feminine, the yin and the yang lives in there. The creation versus the production lives in there as well. Like moving forwards and taking action, but also being magnetic, that all lives in the sacral. So once you're able to make that balance with the root chakra, it just opens. It's like, oh, you've learned duality. You've rooted into yourself while also being spiritual. You've learned duality and you can kind of take that next step.
I also, maybe this analogy will help some of you guys kind of understand this energy work, but I think of the root as building like that strong foundation. You can't have a beautiful glass of water without the vase supporting this flow of water. So when we think of the root, you can either think of the roots of the tree that ground you down so that a tree can rise, or you could think of this beautiful vase that's being shaped so that the water can pour in. Whatever you want to see it as, it's like the root is really the basis, this strong foundation, and the stronger that you can root into your humanness and root into safety within the body and build those safe, empowering beliefs and remove some of that scarcity, shift it into something that's more empowering, the more that you are able to hold space for the flow of things. And that's why sometimes you hear people saying, oh, like, I don't know how to flow. I'm not a creative person. Like, everyone has creative energy. Everyone has this fluid energy circulating with them. But a lot of people don't have that foundation that allows them to feel safe to flow, to receive the creative energy. There's that block where it's like, I'm always in fight or flight. I always need to be in control, because if I'm not in control and I'm not in fight or flight, then something's going to happen. Bears are going to attack me. You know, things from your childhood also manifest there. If there was certain things where like you felt scared around certain people, like that can still be playing out in your day-to-day life. So I love that you mentioned that, Maggie, that it really builds off of the root. Once you work with the root there, the sacral comes next, and the sacral is the next chakra that begins to form. So we have the root forming from, I forget the years, but in the womb space to like what ages, like 2 to 4 or something. And then the sacral kind of overlaps with the root's development, and it goes further into childhood. I think like 4 to 6, it begins to, or it finishes developing. But with the sacral, we have that energy of emotion and pleasure, and the reproductive system really thrives off of the sacral energy, and sensuality, and also confidence comes as well. Like, think about when you feel emotionally secure, you feel more confident. Like, confidence also thrives in the sacral. So for me this year, finding my ability to flow really came from working with my feminine and masculine energy, and learning for the first time ever to not be scared of my masculine, and actually build like this healthy, loving relationship with my divine masculine. So I could be like, all right, today I am scared to take this leap. I'm going to call my divine masculine forward, ask for that protection, ask for that safety, ask to be held. And then I can really allow my feminine to rise, and I can allow myself to feel fluid and more creative. Because the truth is, when we're not feeling safe to do that, it's hard to do so.
I love what you're saying about the masculine, and I'm kind of like gonna go into this little thing here to like prompt Sophie a little bit because I'm really curious like what your current state is with that chakra because we just did a year ahead reading yesterday because Sophie's actually with me in Copenhagen right now, and it was saying like the next year is her really going through what you were just saying you've been going through, Carly, and it's like really a big year of like healing her masculine. I think we're all very much in our feminine. We're very feminine led business owners, feminine led healers, leaders, whatever you want to call us. But I think sometimes when you're so in your feminine, you can have a healthy relationship with the masculine, but you're also so scared of going into that toxic masculinity and you're so afraid of going into that hustle that sometimes you just shut it off completely. And this was really a year for Sophie to, it said, oh, go in and heal your masculine. So I'm curious like how you feel you are in relationship with your masculine and also this chakra now of creativity, of flow, of masculine energy, and of like that sort of forwards energy, if that makes sense.
Yeah. It's funny because like when we kind of like thought of this, like, this is a good conversation to have, like go through the chakra system. I was like thinking of my relationship with all of them and like what I've moved through, and I was like, I feel like I've not fully connected with the sacral, you know, like I've been doing a lot of work on the root, been doing a lot of work on the solar, the heart for sure, the throat for sure, the intuition for sure, like the third eye for sure, and the crown. But I feel like the sacral was like the missing one that I really went all in with. So it was kind of like, okay, this is interesting that came up, because I feel like this coming year, like 2024, it's going to be a lot more of like leaning into that sacral. And I'm kind of like not sure what that really looks like right now, but like I'm open obviously. But I feel like it's funny because like I said, like I'm not really looked at that relationship. It's only obviously now that I'm starting to like open up to look at it, because that's obviously where I'm being divinely led now. And because I always felt like I have been someone of like I feel like I have been someone who's hustled, you know, like maybe not so as much because I've been like led to you guys and like been leaning more into my feminine this past 2 years as I've been building like my business. And yes, it's took me like taking action, betting on myself, like taking risks, like not giving up. And that's had to come from a somewhat of a masculine place as well. Like, yes, from a heart-centered place, yes, from my intuition, but also from that inner, like that strength. And obviously that kind of links into the solar plexus as well, which is like the chakra just above the
But they
sacral.
do.
Yeah, they kind of seep into each other. But I know that there is a lot of like healing to do there, because I feel like right now, and you'll probably be able to like, you'll know for sure, even just right now, like Maggie is like, you're chill, you know, like you are chill, like you have a better relationship. Whereas like, because I'm here, I'm like, I need to do more, I need to do work, like we need to do work, like can we go and can we do work, you know? Like I feel like I know I need to like heal that. And like, yes, I'm in somewhat of a flow, but like when I'm not doing work, there is a bit of like anxiety there, you know?
That's what you said to me this morning. You were like, you are so chill.
You're so chill.
I feel like the sacral also is the reason why so many people, like just as you were saying that, Sophie, like I really recognize the sacral is a chakra that is really hard to connect with because we actually have a lot of wounds around it. Like our sacral is the place, our womb space and our space of intimacy. And you know how many people have wounds around intimacy, whether it be like, you know, some deep traumas or just things that happened ancestrally within the womb space. Like it can feel really heavy to process and to deal with. And so sometimes it is something that it's like, okay, once we've gotten a little bit closer with ourselves, like then we'll feel ready to approach it. But when you start working with your sacral, it's like you become the closest to yourself you've ever been. And that's what I found this past year is through working with my sacral, I have felt the most in love with myself that I have ever been, because I learned to connect two core parts of my energy together to make me feel safe once again in intimacy, in relationship with others, and open myself up to being intimate with others, like in, always like just being closer with people. And I think a lot of people do struggle with that, and that's okay. But knowing that with the sacral, like you don't always have to get like really deep into it, like and really address all those things, but allowing like divine energy to also support that space is something really beautiful that I started to do, where it's like, another thing too with the sacral is like the subconscious. A lot of the subconscious lives within the sacral. And when you start to do subconscious work, like the subconscious develops around your like infancy and like in the womb space and all of that. And so the subconscious, a lot of it lives within the sacral. So something that I have started to do when I'm working to like transmute karmic like patterns or thoughts is I work with divine angelic energy. And something that I've been doing is working with the violet flame in the womb space and calling on that energy to just help transmute and shift subconscious blocks. So like, yeah, it can feel a little scary, but you don't have to do it all yourself and put all the weight on your shoulders.
It's so interesting that you say the thing about the physical body and the subconscious mind, is because the sacral chakra is the chakra of your physical energy. It is the chakra of the physical body. Like when you're working out or moving your body, that's where you're getting that energy from, is in the sacral chakra. And when you talk about the subconscious mind, everyone says like the subconscious mind, it lives within the body. And so it makes sense what you're saying, Carly, even just from that standpoint of like, yes, of course, your subconscious mind and your body and like all of the trauma and stuff that holds is in the sacral chakra. Like it just makes sense. And I also think, whereas this can lay in the solar plexus, I think a lot of people think it lays in the solar plexus, but I see it also in what we've been talking about with you and the healing that you can do over the next year is perfectionism sits in the sacral chakra because it is how you... Sense. It makes sense. I think a lot of people think it lives in the solar plexus because that's your self-image, that's your confidence. And they're saying, oh, I'm not confident and that's why I have perfectionism, like that I'm struggling with. But your sacral chakra is where you create from. And so much of like perfectionism that can come from being a business owner or,
it's a control thing.
Life. It's a control thing. Like I think we were talking a lot this past week, if you don't mind me saying, Sophie, about like how you can release that control of like being perfect, like writing the perfect email or writing the perfect caption or looking at that story and deciding whether it looks perfect or if you look perfect in it, right? And that all stems from within your sacral chakra because it's that question of, is what I'm making good enough to put out into the world? Is my energy worth being seen? Is anything that I create actually worth it? And that's that bridge like we were talking about before, right? Once you're safe and you feel safe in what you're creating, that's when you can then go up to the solar plexus and you can be like, yes, let's work on my comfortability of being seen. But when you look at perfectionism, you first need to address the sacral chakra of, do you believe in what you're creating? Do you even believe in your ability to create?
And what are you scared of? Because I think that's the biggest thing when you look at fear and certain control tendencies. Like for me, OCD, the eating disorder, perfectionism were all control things because I was scared of something. And talking about the sacral is all about the connection between your divine masculine and feminine. And I was trying to lead from this energy of wounded masculine. So when I started to work to heal and know that, oh, wow, my divine masculine is actually very safe and protective, I no longer felt like I needed perfectionism to protect me. I could lean into my divine masculine energy. And instead of being like, oh, if I don't do this right, then everyone's going to hate me or I'm not going to be sophisticated or professional enough, I could say, you know what? I feel safe already within my body. So if other people don't see that, then you know what? That's okay. So it's crazy how it really does lie within the sacral. And even just like moving up from that, doing that work with the sacral and then moving up to the solar, I love that idea how they do feed off of one another. And that's why when you start with the root and then go to sacral and solar, it's kind of like one thing after another, you start to see how it kind of clicks and meshes. And I think oftentimes when we're doing the spiritual or just like more personal development work, we, like I mentioned, we start from the top down, and that's why sometimes it can feel confusing or icky sticky, because we don't have the foundational pieces supporting the work that's kind of being done there.
I think so many of us jump right into the third eye. Like we're like, let's do intuition, third eye and crown. You're like, I want to manifest. Okay, universe, I'm ready. And like surrender. And that manifestation is all in the crown. And the universe is like, yeah, but you're not giving me any energy. You have so many like blocks in there that this tiny little like trickle of energy is coming out your crown chakra when you're trying to call this in, because you don't really believe in yourself and what you're creating and your image in the world to actually have these things, to call these things in. I've always worked like root up. I was really lucky working in the crystal shop to be introduced to chakras really early on in my spiritual journey. And I've always been like, work from root up, like figure out what is icky sticky down there, like you said, Carly, and start to create space. Because, you can hear about chakras being blocked. A chakra can never be fully blocked, because then you would die, because no energy would be getting through all your energetic systems. But energy can be, stagnant, or it can have blocks there, so it's just kind of trickling through. And that's why you want to start clearing at the bottom, because if you have a wide open crown chakra, that's great, but the energy starts from down below. So if you have these upper chakras that are wide open, they're not being fed anything, so they're just sitting there, open and empty.
No, that makes so much sense. I do want to touch a bit on the solar though too,
Yeah,
because
let's
I
talk
feel
about
like
solar.
I feel like this one's a big one as well, that I honestly, when I started getting into chakra work, I had no idea what the hell I was doing. I just went to a Reiki healer and I was like, all right, girl, what's going on? And I dealt with a lot, like before seeing an energy healer, like I didn't really know why I was dealing with certain things. Like, little backstory, I basically, the first time I went to an energy healer, I was in the midst of eating disorder recovery and was on a 3-month stretch of crazy insomnia and panic attacks. Like, I did not sleep through one night with probably like more than 4 hours of sleep. I was having panic attacks on the daily, multiple times a day. And yes, I tried anxiety medication, but I had allergic reactions to every single one. So it was like my body was like, no, babe, you can't just like mute this out. You gotta feel to heal. And so when I went to the energy healer, everything shifted. But what we did a lot of work with was the solar plexus. And me, like, this was at the time in which my spiritual, like I was awakening more and more spiritually, and I had this crazy vision of like me attached to this darker energy that I later recognized was the eating disorder. And I basically had like an energetic cord tied to this energy, and she told me it's coming from your solar plexus. Like, it's like a chain that's coming from the solar plexus. And we worked to cut that cord between me and this energy or this entity. And from that day moving forward, my insomnia began to clear. I stopped having panic attacks. Like, I don't know what it was, but it's just like bam, after that they disappeared. I just felt more cleared of energy. Like, I felt more empowered to heal through eating disorder treatment. Like, I felt more motivated and like I could actually do this. And I really realized from that point moving forward that the solar plexus, when we have cords and chains attached to certain things that are like energy vampires, it greatly impacts our own personal power. So the solar plexus for me has been all about calling back my personal power and learning to cut and clear energetic cords, tying me to people, places, things, mindsets, karmic patterns that are no longer serving me.
I feel like the solar plexus for me has been like one of the biggest ones. I feel like
it's your brand.
Yeah, it's my brand, and every round in Aura Elevation so far it's like, Sylvie, you're doing a confidence workshop. Sylvie, you're doing the solar plexus. And I think it's just it's just been natural, you know. It's been a big part of my brand, a big part of my journey, healing that like confidence, healing that worthiness within myself. And yeah, like it's just been a huge like part of my journey to like start stepping into my confidence, start stepping into my worthiness, because it was something that like I really was blocked in, like until I found this path as well, until I kind of like these doors started to open into the spiritual world, into this healing world. Like I didn't believe in myself. I didn't think I had anything to give. I didn't think that I was enough. I didn't think I had like any kind of worthiness within myself. So like I've obviously been doing a lot of like healing with my solar plexus and kind of returning. I like to use that, returning and remembering like that confidence, that light, that worthiness that does lie within us, and it lies within us all. And it's about like kind of clearing out that chakra, clearing out that part within you, like removing the layers, removing the subconscious blocks, removing the kind of energy that actually isn't allowing your light, your worthiness, your confidence to start shining through. And like I've now become this like magnetic light. Like everybody, like absolutely everybody is just like, you're just like a ray of light. You're just like, so like I love your energy, Sophie. Like you're just like a sun. You're just shining, you know, like that's my brand, Shine with Sophie. So like obviously it makes complete sense, and that's like been like my journey of like the solar plexus, and I feel like I'll always come back to it. It's like you're always like healing your chakra system, aren't you? Like you're always coming back to that. What are you gonna say?
Yeah, because you're pulling up new roots. But
Yeah.
I think what you're saying makes so much sense. Like I love how you touched on, Carly, like the worthiness or the like the self-empowerment and the self-image and calling back your own power, because that is so chakra, like solar plexus
So it's
based.
like stepping into your power, like reclaiming your power.
Yeah, and that's something I've really experienced too. And like there's a crystal that I'll always like tell anyone to get and I'll swear by. It's called honey calcite, and it's the crystal that allows you to call back your power. It's a crystal to use to like kind of righten the scales of justice. So if someone has taken that power from you, whether that's through a mean comment or like a really toxic relationship, this can help you like call back the power that you've given out. I think the solar plexus is a big chakra where we can hold on to our, you know, our personal power and allow it to shine out. But if we're not healed, if we are hurt, if we have been hurt by others, it's something that we also can have huge energy leakages from, because it's that part of us where we just give away our personal power to other people, or it's like forcibly taken from us, like it can be for so many people.
When I'm doing energy work with someone's solar plexus, I see it as like the sun, and there's multiple like rays going in different directions. But there are some rays that are, instead of it just like being this beautiful sun with rays naturally flowing out, it becomes a ray that's actually leaking energy instead of it being connected and fueling your energy back to it. So, you know, you have give and receive energy, but a lot of times when we're stuck in patterns, relationships or karmic like energetic cycles that aren't serving us, it's like a ray that just keeps leaking out our personal power. So I mean, working with the solar plexus, I know in aura elevation, we're going to be doing a lot of, okay, let's call back our personal power, let's root back into calling our energy back to ourselves on a regular basis, so that even in those moments that you notice it's leaking out, you can call it back in because you have the power to do so.
Exactly. And I love that part of it. And I love the worthiness and confidence, because that's what happens when you call your personal power back. But I think a part of the solar plexus that also gets overlooked so much, because it kind of gets outshined by this feeling of personal power. It gets outshined a little bit by this idea of karmic stuff that you have to work on, is it's also just your center for joy and happiness. And I think so many people are like, oh my gosh, I need to heal. I need to like cut all these karmic ties. And it's like, that's fantastic. And you're going to feel so good for it. But also it doesn't have to be a heavy one. EFT, that's the one that EFTs work with, because affirmations and things that make you feel good and that energy, you'll realize like when you do an EFT afterwards, you haven't fixed all your problems, but you oftentimes feel lighter and elevated because you've tapped into this light energy within you. It's the joy energy, it's the happiness, it's light energy. So also like allowing yourself to play, allowing yourself to be happy, smiling, laughing, like these moments where you are joyful also feed your solar plexus. So allowing yourself to connect with others, allowing yourself to have fun with friends, doing things that make you laugh, watching a TV show or a comedy show that makes you laugh, like all of these things feed your solar plexus so much, because it doesn't always have to be so dark and difficult and working with that energy. It can also just be like fun.
I feel like that makes so much sense, because I feel like I'm shining the most like in my own energy when I'm like leaning into gratitude, leaning into like dancing, you know, having fun, like whether it's just with myself or with friends, and just like being silly, like being myself, like, and that's when that light starts to like come alive within me, and like people start to recognize like gratitude was the first thing like I tapped into, and I feel like that obviously is connected to that joy, you know, and that's what started to allow me to like unlock this light within me, was that piece of gratitude, that piece of joy, leaning into that. So like sometimes it doesn't, like you said, it doesn't need to be that real deep aspect of things. It can just be simply choosing joy, you know, choosing fun, choosing play. Like today, me and Maggie went on a zip line and we just laughed our bums off. We were like, oh my God, this is so fun.
And it's that, like, we keep talking about the bridge, and I think we're going to wrap up the episode soon here today, because we are going to do a second episode here about the heart, throat, third eye, and crown next week. But I think that is that bridge that we've looked for each of the chakras, the bridge of joy, that light of joy bridges the solar plexus to the heart, because it shines the light on, which is the light, literally your solar plexus, but it shines your light on where your joy is. And then once you realize where your joy and happiness is, you can discern your other emotions and start to then work with the heart chakra.
And it really is about, I think, understanding yourself better and what raises and what lowers your energy. And the more that you dive into self-discovery and start to look at, okay, what feels good? Maybe I don't just have to navigate life from what I've been taught to do, but actually learn, you know, what raises my vibration and what lowers it. And once you start to lean more into the things that uplift your energy and surround yourself more with the activities, the people, the places that uplift your energy versus drain it, that's when the solar plexus gets to shine and you become that big bright sun once again, because it's like you're tuned and tapped into your own light and you're doing the things that light you up. So yeah.
I hope you guys enjoyed this today. Please sign up for Aura Elevation if any of this spoke to you. We are so excited. Last round, we had 50 beautiful souls within Aura Elevation, and it was so expansive. It was the most beautiful community, and we just feel like we're lucky stars who are on fire every single time. So if you want to grab a spot for yourself, we would love to have you. The link is in the show notes, and hopefully we see you there at the end of the month to really make sure that your energy keeps going. I know a lot of people can fall off their New Year's resolutions. It's so normal. There's a whole energetic basis that I won't go into, but we really put this at the end of January so that you can find that spark and keep going and heal yourself and just tap into all this. So we hope to see you there. We're so excited, and make sure to tune in next week to hear our journey with the rest of the chakras. Woo! Bye.
Bye, guys.